that represent the really wonderful diversity and goodness of this state that you've been hearing from. Are you excited about these candidates? So I'm here this afternoon as your Democratic nominee for the United States Senate. People from across the state who contributed their time and their effort and their resources and who embrace the belief that together we can create change for Georgia and for our nation. So when I look across this room and I see all of these friends and I see the extraordinary tapestry of Georgia, I see people from all backgrounds coming together, applying creativity and innovation and a collaborative spirit to getting things done, to solving tough problems, to lifting up your neighbors. And these are the same values and the same idealism that I saw 26 years ago when I gathered with a group of volunteers at Manuel's Tavern to have our first gathering. Anybody here been to Manuel's Tavern? So we literally passed around empty beer mugs, we collected contributions, and we had poster boards, and we had people sign up, and we said, come join us to tutor kids, come join us to deliver meals to people who are homebound, and join us to build houses. And over the next couple of decades, we grew to not only hundreds of thousands of people across Atlanta, but millions of people across this country, including places like Hands On Nashville and Hands On Portland. And eventually, 7 years ago, we did something unusual. We merged our efforts with President George H.W. Bush's Points of Light organization. And together, we created the world's largest organization in the world dedicated to volunteer service. Last year, we mobilized 4 million people in 20,000 projects every single month. Every single month. So I'm proud of the leadership, I'm proud of the values that I learned through that service movement, and I take that same spirit of service and I apply it to this campaign. The last 26 years taught me that if we want to create change, we cannot stand on the sidelines. We have to fight and organize and mobilize for the change we want to see. For a livable wage for all of Georgia's families. We're fighting to ensure that we protect Social Security and Medicare, not only for this generation behind us, but for the generation before us as well. We also are fighting to invest in our future to make sure that we are giving every child in early childhood education the opportunity to succeed and to have an equal playing field. And we are fighting for our future. This election is incredibly high stakes, and you all know this. That's why we're here. The Republicans have finally chosen their candidate in David Perdue. So let me tell you a little bit about David Perdue, and I'm going to do that by sharing one of the first things that he said after the election. Let me actually quote him. Let me read this to you. He says, "So who brings more value to the debate? Someone who has been running a philanthropy for 15 years or whatever, or someone who has been out here, not to go bragging, he says, competing in the real world." The real world. So let me tell you about the real world that I've been in for the last 26 years here in Georgia. It's the real world of public school classrooms where teachers and volunteers are fighting for equality for all of our children. The real world of seniors who depend upon meals to be delivered to them to ensure that they can live with dignity and independence. The real world of neighbors and communities rebuilding in the wake of natural disasters after they've lost all their earthly belongings. So this is the real world that I've been occupying, and I believe that there is nobility in helping others. I believe and honor officers, the firefighters, the volunteers, and the doctors who build out their communities and who live out their faith by trying to make a difference in other people's lives. So now let me tell you a little bit about David Perdue's real world. Mr. Perdue is a man who's managed to make a lot of money in business, and we applaud success. But for some reason, those who worked with him at the various stops along his career didn't come out nearly as well. In fact, in our neighboring state of North Carolina, my opponent managed to make millions of dollars for less than a year's worth of work, but almost 8,000 people lost their job when his company went bankrupt. And at multiple other companies, David Perdue led efforts to ship thousands of jobs overseas, making a fortune while American families suffered. And under his watch, one of his companies was investigated by the federal government for discriminating against women. And his firm was forced to pay more than 2,000 female employees more than $20 million for not paying them equally and for not treating them equally. So too often, Mr. Perdue seemed to prosper when those who worked with him suffered. He's a man who time after time put his own profit ahead of his people. So sadly, David Perdue's real world does not include us. While David Perdue ran as an outsider, his campaign tactics and his rhetorics are a lot like what people are already tired of. He refused to take a pledge to keep secret and undisclosed money out of Georgia. He complained about Washington as usual during the campaign, but within minutes of winning the election, he declared that this race would be about prosecuting this administration. Prosecuting. Gosh, you know what? That sounds an awful lot like Washington as usual. People putting partisanship over problem solving. We don't need people pointing fingers in Washington. We need leaders who can work together and create solutions. So I do not believe that public service is about partisan games, and the people of Georgia have told me this over and over and over. Georgians tell me that they're tired of what's happening. They don't understand, why it took a government shutdown to finally pass a budget. They tell me they're frustrated that after more than 6 years after the recession, folks in Washington can't get around to helping our economy grow faster or tackle our long-term debt. They're tired of Washington's inability to achieve comprehensive bipartisan immigration reform. They're tired of Washington's failure to provide equal pay for equal work. And Georgians are tired of Washington's failure to allow students to have a more affordable pathway to college and to technical school. So I'm going to paraphrase Fannie Lou Hamer. You know what she said? She said, "We're sick and tired of being sick and tired, and we're ready to work for something different." On the campaign trail, people through their words and their actions have declared that they know that we can do better in Washington and that they're willing to work really hard for it. The people of Georgia are going to teach the people of Washington a thing or two in this election. We have an energized and unique grassroots organization that's involving literally tens of thousands of people. We've built a broad coalition that includes Democrats and independents, and guess what? Even some Republicans, because they're tired too. Many people have told me that for the first time they're putting a bumper sticker on their car, or they're actually posting in a yard sign in their yard. And we know that we can do this. But we also know that we have a challenging road ahead. We know that outside special interests will spend millions of dollars. In fact, they've already started. The Republican Senatorial Campaign Committee has declared that they put $2.5 million into negative advertising against me that's going to start next week. But that just shows, what does that show? It shows they know that this is a winnable race for us. Something different. I think they're looking for a restoration of our true values, and I know that we can work together to make sure that we live out the values of our Georgia State motto. And you all know what those are? Wisdom, justice, and moderation. And that's what we can do. So I feel a lot like I did when I gathered 26 years ago at Manuel's Tavern. I have the same sense of possibility, the same sense of optimism, the same sense of inspiration and idealism. And I know that we can work to create change together. So we have 100 days, less than 100 days, less than 100 days. So I'm going to ask you something. Are y'all ready? Yeah!